Hello, 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 hello. We are
All
live.
good.
This is like pulling
Ready?
back the curtain a little bit. I feel like hitting that live button. People are going to get to see, a little bit of the pre-production, but not much. We're going to go right into it. I'll let a couple people jump into the room. I figured out how to kill that echo, and I figured out that I know what I need to be able to put the music in and put the sound effects in. I'm actually going to tweet out this link now that we're live. Get some people from the Twitter to pull up and watch. Where's the YouTube? I'm on the YouTube. What's up, people? What's up? I see somebody in there, two people in there. I'm Keith. That's Hudson. We're talking Nets. Very soon we're going to do episode 98 live. And I think we're going to do all our episodes live moving forward. So thanks for pulling up. Do episode 98 live. Yep, there it is. Okay, tweeting it out and then we'll rock. I'm not on. I'm under my Twitter, not Talkin Nets. Okay, boom.
Gotta be in a Talkin Nets. 10K is coming soon. It's coming real
Man,
soon.
whatever we want it to be, it's sky's the limit. Like I was saying, 10K by the playoffs, and then we know what the main stage, what the playoffs does. So let's just keep pushing, bro. I appreciate you, man. Like I remember when we were alternating games, like who was gonna live tweet the games, and I was worried. I remember telling you, like, bro, I got a lot going on. Like I'm not gonna be able to do as much. Like I gotta kind of like spread myself out and do a bunch of different things, and I can't focus just on talking Nets. But you got it for now, and in that time, I think you really found your voice or your lane or whatever. And we're crushing it, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Recording live. Pull up. BN98, number one, and not worried. Clearly. All right, that's tweeted out. I am now recording on my end, and I'm going to count us in, and we're going to do this thing like we always do this thing, but we're going to have a couple people watching. Only 3 watching right now. My eye is itchy from allergies, but I'm pumped for this episode. There's going to be some heavy talk in this episode after the 2 games that we won. We're not coming on the podcast talking about a loss, and that's what I like. All right, here we go. Counting us in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Talking Nets, episode 98. Feeling like a champion, like the 98 Bulls. Man, today we are going to talk about KD to start, winning an Oscar, coming off the bench. We'll also talk about KD possibly bringing back the Basquiat jerseys with his post-game press conference. And we got to talk about the last 2 games. We're coming into a pod with back-to-back wins. That's what we like to do around here. The Nets beat the Celtics. The Nets beat the Suns. We're number 1. We're in first place, and we're not worried. Talking Nets. Let's get it.
Let's get it, man. And for the
live audience, we play the music. I'm going to buy a little mixer to hit the music, to hit the intro song,
The post-production is going super hard right now, as hard as possible.
And then when the music comes down, I say, yes, sir. Welcome back to Talking Nets, episode 98, like the 98 Yanks. Woo, that was a hell of a team. That was a team that sold me. That was a team that convinced me that the Yankees were going to win all the time. And now I'm a Yankee fan, and I'm unsure if we're going to win. But I know the Nets are going to win. Keith McPherson joining you with Hudson Flynn. Hudson Flynn, say what's up to the people.
Man, how we doing, everybody? Cool to be here live. Cool to see who's pulling up. Cool that we got this new ability to go live. Looking forward to doing that, whether it's a pregame or a postgame for the playoffs, just talking to Nets fans, taking questions. It's growing, it's changing, it's evolving, it's fun. But look, we all know the real fun is on the court. And last game, we were talking, or last podcast, we were talking about how the Nets need to step it up. We got to be winning games. We can't be losing to bad teams, going into a couple games against some good teams here, playing the Celtics, playing the Suns. Two teams, Celtics on the rise, the Suns at the top, second best record in the entire NBA, second in the West as well. And the Nets come out victorious, winning both games and winning that Suns game in pretty spectacular fashion, considering the Suns, second best record in the NBA, second best in the West. And it just doesn't matter. A injured Nets team with KD coming off the bench just took them to town, let them know. Kyrie, Ramadan Rie, 34-12, and the Nets are rolling, Keith. And I'm happy to be talking about two big wins. No more of that one win, one loss. No more of those excuses. No more, oh, people are injured. Let's get it, Keith.
I'm not worried anymore. I feel like I did have a little bit of worry in the last podcast because when we lost to the Raptors, I just was like, yo, enough, man. We should have beat them. I don't care about Harden and KD not being there. Kyrie is there. Joe Harris is there. Bruce Brown is there. And it's like, I'm done worrying because as soon as you start to worry, the Nets show you that they're not worried. They're the most chill franchise. They're the most chill head coach, players. Like, these guys are having a blast playing this year, and it's been fun to watch. Your Brooklyn Nets are 41-20, first place in the East, a game and a half ahead. And that's why this is titled Number One and Not Worried, because we were worried even a couple podcasts ago, maybe three podcasts ago, where we were talking about the Sixers loss, and we had the episode called Still Processing, where going into that Sixers game, we were a little worried. We wanted them to go out there and try and send a message and win that game and compete for the tiebreaker. But the Nets showed us that they weren't worried about it. It didn't matter. The Nets showed us that they didn't care about that one game, and they sent a louder message by letting our end of the bench guys almost steal that game. I'd be remiss to not thank Media Squared, the Yes Network, the Brooklyn Nets, Nets Magazine, Rich and TJ, everybody that helped with that project and the special feature that they did on us. I woke up Saturday at 5:38 naturally, like no alarm set. Really, I just needed some water. I went to reach for my water and there was no water. And I'm the type of person, I'm like, I got to quench my thirst. Like, I got to get a drink. Speaking of, I just did that now. Sorry about it. But I go and get some water, and I see the clock in the kitchen. I'm like, it's 5:38. And TJ told me, hey, this is going to air at 6 a.m. So should I go back to sleep for 22 minutes or should I stay up for 22 minutes to lay eyes on this for the first time? I stayed up. And, of course, I captured it and shared it across platforms. And, man, the reception it got, the text message, like the DMs, like I wasn't expecting. That's what I wasn't expecting. They did such a good job telling the story. I wasn't expecting all of the people that would hit me up and say, you're an inspiration. You guys are motivational. Wow, I'm so proud of you guys. You guys are big now. You guys are doing it. Hudson, how did you feel when you woke up and saw the Talkin Nets Magazine feature pretty much on every platform? I put it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and then it aired and some people started seeing it later that day on TV.
Shoot, I was grateful that you went out and clipped it in the morning because I did not wake up for that. I was comfy sleeping in my bed. But then when I saw you put it out, I had to start my day off watching it. And it's crazy to see just the level of, first off, like video quality, production quality on that whole special. It was just awesome to see. It was just great to feel recognized for what we're doing. And then watching it later on TV, it was almost surreal thinking about a year ago. We didn't even know if we were going to keep doing this podcast with the NBA going into the bubble. We didn't even know what the future was going to hold. And here we are now a year later. And it's just great to see that we're doing well. The Nets are doing well, and that's being recognized. And honestly, if we're being real, our successes are being recognized more than the Nets successes right now, Keith. Because a lot of people in the media are talking pretty heavy about your Brooklyn Nets and saying some pretty negative things that have me a little confused.
Yeah, me too. And I got a perfect segue for that. So one of my good friends, a guy that I was in the fan cave with, I was the Yankee fan in the fan cave. He was the Mets fan in the fan cave. He sees the video Saturday morning and he sends a text at 8:30 and he said, Keith, this is incredible. Now he sends this text to the group of cave dwellers. There's 8 of us that represented 8 different baseball teams that year. He says, Keith, this is incredible. Also, probably the longest video I've watched ever on Instagram without skipping through. But just so you know, Julius Randle is the MVP and the Knicks are on an 8-game winning streak. Okay. I just sent the thinking emoji. Okay. Why do you have to see a video of your boy and his Nets podcast on Nets Magazine, and then you can't even say congratulations? You can't even say, yo, he said this is incredible, but he had to follow it up to let me know that Julius Randle is the MVP and the Knicks are on an 8-game winning streak. It was like the Waka Flocka meme, like, okay. Bro, what is going on? Now, I didn't want to say Knicks, but I was reading his text. So now we've officially said Knicks on the pod. So let's talk about the New York Icks, the Madison Squares, the Midtown Manhattaners. Enough. Okay? You
enjoy
won 9
your own
games
success.
in a row. Enough. You didn't win those 9 games in spite of us. You didn't win those 9 games because of us. Why are you chanting, we want the Nets? Why do you have your talking heads like
You had
Stephen
the
A.
Nets.
Smith saying anything
You had the
about
Nets. You got swept. You got swept in the regular season series. It doesn't. It's just
corny.
ridiculous at this point. They can't seem to enjoy their own success without trying to throw it back at Nets fans' faces, which first off shows who's really got the little brother mentality at this point. But like, look, enjoy what you have. There were no Nets fans who, after the Nets lost in the first round of the playoffs to the 76ers a couple years ago with D'Lo, were like, you see that, Knicks? We run this town now. Like, that's the same path you guys are on. You guys are on track for a first or a second round exit, and you can be a nice story. You can be cool. You know, you got a coach that is helping turn you around, build a culture. That's nice. Like, enjoy that. Enjoy the successes that you have. You don't need to come after the Nets. You also don't need to bring us into the conversation because there's really nothing that you can say. And there's no one in the media, in fans, and wherever that is more of the arbiter of saying things that make you look stupid than Stephen A. Smith. And he came on television this morning, Monday morning, April 26th, and just the man spoke so far out of his ass, it was coming back out of his mouth again. It was ridiculous. Like, he came on and he said,
a whole act. He's putting on a whole clown show.
Full clown show. First off, he goes out and he says Katie was disrespected and feels like he made the wrong choice coming to the Nets because he came off the bench. First off, according to the post-game interview, Katie made that choice, but Stephen A. Smith didn't watch that because he doesn't care about being accurate. And then he comes on after that and says, oh, did Katie and Kyrie make the wrong choice? Sorry, I'll actually be specific. He said they made the wrong choice if the Knicks make the playoffs.
We don't live in that fake world. We live in the Nets world. None of that is real. All of that is fake. Stephen A. Smith is putting on a show. He is acting. Before he goes live on ESPN, they have a pre-production show, and they think of ridiculous things for him to say that plays to the Knicks fan base and plays to the national audience that wants to make the Nets out to be this big, bad super team. Nah, how about this narrative? This is the best season that Nets fans have been able to watch probably ever. Our winning percentage is higher than it's ever been. This is the most wins I can remember. That's what I was saying the last couple of episodes. We lost. I got used to winning. We lost a game and another game, back-to-back pods. We're talking about a win and a loss. This is our best winning percentage year ever. We have superstars on this team. We have never felt like this as Nets fans. And we're not trying to waste too much time talking about the New York Icks, the Madison Squares. So I'll say this. This is not what you want. All of these Knicks fans that I hear calling in the radio, talking on social media, pumping their chest out about they want the Nets. You don't want the Nets. In any round, in any circumstance, any seeding, you don't want the Brooklyn Nets. Because you might get swept, and you're definitely not gonna beat the Nets in a 7-game series. It's not gonna happen. But you might get swept, And it's going to be a long, hard summer and a longer offseason for you. And it would just further cement that the team from New Jersey came over the bridge, took over your city, put a flag down in Brooklyn and said, this is the new Mecca, our world, Nets world. That's not what you want. It sounds cool right now.
It's just more
embarrassing. It sounds cool online right now. And when you see a viral video of Nets fans or Knicks fans chanting, we want the Nets outside of Madison Square Garden, like, you look dumb. You look really dumb. We don't talk about you like that. We don't even look at you like that. And the only reason you were able to rip off this win streak is because you ain't got to play us. We swept y'all, and then you got good. You don't have an MVP. You can't have an MVP on a fourth-place team that lost like 20 games in the beginning of the year. Like, what are you talking about? Stop. Let's move on, man. I'll let you get anything else about the Knicks, bro. I'm tired of talking about it because it's like, damn, New York is actually thriving in the NBA. We have two of the top 4 teams, and y'all want this infighting so bad. Y'all want this rivalry to be a thing so bad. We're already past that. We're trying to win a ring. We're trying to win a chip. You don't even kind of stand in our way. We're thinking of teams that could potentially stand in our way, and you're not even close. And we're not trying to do you bums any favors having a series in New York where your fans can come to Barclays Center and you get the national media attention on top of the New York. Like, nah, we're not trying to do you bums any favor. Our world Nets, where we're not beat for that.
Look, all I'll say, and this is just one sentence to finish it off. If you watch college football, everyone cheers, we want Bama, right? Why are they cheering that? Because they're the best. Because they're the best. And look, there's nothing wrong with wanting to try your luck against the best team in basketball. And that's what the Nets are. They're not saying we want the Nets if the Nets have, 60 losses. They're saying it because the Nets are the best, and they know that they're the best, and that's the end of story. It doesn't matter how many Nets fans you think there are. It doesn't matter who New York's team is. I couldn't care less if I was the only Nets fan that existed. If the Nets are going to win the championship and bring a trophy home to Brooklyn, I will be happy if I am the only one at the parade.
You won't be, though. And that's the thing.
Exactly.
That's what Talkin Nets is here for. We're bringing Nets fans together. We're actually bringing new people into this Nets world that are saying, yeah, I'm a Nets fan now. And the thing is, there's all of these Knicks fans. Let's say for every 100 Knicks fans, there's only 20 Nets fans. Okay, so what? Like that, is that what you want? No, we run the city. Okay, we run the league. And you're trying to ride our coattails. That's why you want the Nets. You want that attention. And we're not beat for you bums. And you know who's not beat for you bums? KD. That's why he was never coming to play for the Knicks. That's why he said that, the Knicks aren't the thing. And there was a screenshot floating around where KD said he would love that if we drew the Knicks in the first round. He said he would love that. You know why? Because that's an automatic advance. That's an easy matchup. That's an automatic, okay, ticket to the second round. Maybe only have to play 4 games and rest. But speaking of KD, shout out to KD and Mike Conley and 35 Ventures and everything they've done. Those two were awarded an Oscar for Two Distant Strangers last night. They, if you guys didn't see that, I'm sure you did. KD and Mike Conley, executive producers on this film. It's just dope, man. This puts them in the conversation with Kobe because Kobe won. And This they won it for a live action short film. This film I haven't seen, but it stars Trayvon Free and Martin Desmond Rowe. And hey, on the same day that KD dropped 33, he won an Oscar. Built different, Hudson Flynn says.
Nobody else is doing that. I mean, obviously Kobe did it, and Kobe's Kobe, right? It's just a different type of experience. And to say that, like, you're doing all of that while in New York City in the world's biggest market it's something next level. It's something that first off puts KD in the conversation, obviously with Kobe, but with some other, off the court media empire type people, which, when you think about that, you look at LeBron and what LeBron's been able to do. Obviously you got Space Jam 2 coming out and you got all the things he's been able to do. So
Space
that's
Jam
really
not winning an Oscar though. I don't know about
but that's what but when in terms of doing things off the court though, Keith, it's the next level. It's the upperest echelon. It's the best you can be at your sport and in life. So KD continues to win. He's about to make more money than in his I don't know if it's Bitcoin or what, a coin wallet, Coinbase, the cryptocurrency wallet thing. He's about to make more money on that in like a month than he did off of his entire NBA salary. So he stays winning, and it's just cool to have him in Brooklyn, following us on Twitter, by the way. And
King
man,
of
it's
New
just
York.
a good vibe. He is the king of New York. Talk about who runs New York, Katie.
And from one king to another, King Basquiat, you've seen the crown, you've seen the art. We're going from off the floor to back on the floor, literally on our floor in Brooklyn is the Basquiat art. And if you watch the post game, I think I posted on our Twitter after Hudson posted the jerseys, or I posted on our Instagram after Hudson posted the jerseys on our Twitter. They're thinking about doing the Basquiat jerseys in white. Now, for you Brooklyn Nets fans that have been here for more than a year, 2 years, you remember 2018, 2019, they had the black Coogee jerseys. If you're looking at YouTube right now, the Coogee, it's part of our graphic. That's when we started Talkin Nets, and that's when we decided to make the graphic based off those City Edition jerseys, which were cool. It's like, damn, we're rocking a Biggie-inspired jersey in the NBA. Like, nobody's doing that. Then they kind of reached and took it too far with the Bed-Stuy jersey. The stadium's not in Bed-Stuy. The arena is not in Bed-Stuy. I understand, they were doing it for Biggie, but it's like you did it the first year and then you went a little too far, and the white ones weren't as jiggy as the black ones. Like, the black ones were it. But I think these white Basquiat jerseys would look better than the black ones. I actually haven't bought that jersey yet, just because I'm like, I don't know. I didn't know what number I want. I wanted Harden, and Harden got hurt. And then I always think about what shoes I'm going to wear with the jersey. You need some like shoes that have like either a strong blue, red, or yellow. Hudson, what did you think when you saw the white jerseys? I saw you posted them and gave credit to the guy that did the Photoshop. They're hard. I like them. I wouldn't even be against seeing the Nets add them this year, and then we got, 7 jerseys in rotation?
Why not? Those are fire. I actually like them better than the black. I think the white is really clean. And I saw one. It's not the one that I posted. It was one that came out after the fact with a little bit of gold accent as well. And it looked clean. It looked nice. And people are going to talk about how the Nets have, all these jerseys. And I don't know. People like to complain about things. And one thing people like to complain about, old head NBA circles, is there's too many jerseys. I don't care. I think they're cool. I'll buy all of them if they're nice. And I think that for a jersey that when we first saw it, we're like, I don't know. And then it ended up looking great on the court. This right now looks like a jersey that you see in photos. It looks beautiful. And then when it comes on the court, it might surpass, at least, the concept that was made. It might surpass the D'Lo Black Coogee jerseys that, were for such a long time the pinnacle of NBA jersey success, in my mind at least. So I'm excited for that. I hope they do. And look, at the end of the day, if KD wants it, KD's going to get it. So I'm looking forward to whenever that happens. I will be buying on day one.
Yeah, they're better than the earned jerseys. I know the earned jerseys were inspired by the Subway and that whole look, but I don't like the earned jerseys. They just like if we're gonna wear those jerseys, you might as well wear the black icon jerseys. They're the same and they look worse. I actually saw one up close in Dick's Sporting Goods, and I was like, nah, I would never buy this jersey. But speaking of those earned jerseys, we wore them on the floor Friday night. Game 60 is 72. Let's talk about these games. Nets beat the Celtics 109-104 Friday night in Brooklyn. And I don't know. I wanted KD to play, but it's all good. I knew he wasn't going to play.
Didn't need him, Keith.
We ended up not needing him, and it's the Celtics. We hate the Celtics. You guys know about the rivalry. I came into the game like, man, Kyrie's good for 35. We already know what he does against the Celtics. Now, he had a little bit of an off night, but I don't want to call it an off night. I even changed it in the notes because I wrote, a little off night for Kyrie. Then I looked. I'm like, that's not an off night for Kyrie. That's just Kyrie not doing all the scoring. Kyrie ended up having 15 points, but he almost had a triple-double. He had 15 points, 11 assists, and 9 rebounds. He was 1 rebound away from a triple-double. So he's just giving it to them in a different way. And that's fine because Joe Harris scored 20. When Joe Harris scores 20, we win. We're 11-1. I think now 12-1 when Joe Harris scores 20. Jeff Green had 19, and Jeff Green is on a poster tour. he is going to put faces on posters the rest of the way out. Look out. Bruce Brown, 15 points. Blake Griffin, 13 off the bench. I love what we're getting out of role-playing Blake Gryffindor. It is awesome to see the Magic Wizard, what he has left. He's figuring it out. They said he couldn't dunk. He makes great plays. He plays smart. What else from this game, Hudson? Let's start off with this. Mike James, right? Who? Mike James. Who? Mike James. Didn't know the guy. But then I think DJ or somebody on Nets Twitter posted the game from 2018-19 where the Suns came to Brooklyn and he cooked us for a little bit. And I was like, oh, I do remember seeing him, little light skin, like point. I do remember seeing him. And then I looked him up, and supposedly he was in Russia and he had some issues with his coach and had to get up out of there. But Sean Marks, in Marks we trust, another Marks find. This guy is eligible to play for the first time. Meet Steve Nash like right before the game. Boom, he's in there. He doesn't start, but he comes off the bench and he contributes for us. And I like his moxie. I like his style. I like his energy. 8 points, couple assists, couple rebounds. But he ended up playing 21 minutes in his first game with the Nets. Hudson, what were you seeing on the tweets as you live tweeted this game and covered it for us Friday night?
I was just laughing because on back-to-back possessions, he had a little Euro step, razzle-dazzle, Kyrie type move, and then he tops that. And I thought that was going to be the craziest thing. He comes down and he does like a sky hook fadeaway. And I was like, what? Who? Mike? Number 55 on the Brooklyn. Who? Like, it was comical. Like, how does the rest of the NBA not find these guys the way Sean Marks does? Like, there's just some type of different talent. Like, the Nets aren't even buying the league anymore. We're buying Mike James at a CSKA Moscow, and here he comes in his first game meeting our head coach, and he's doing all this stuff. And then, I mean, I know I'm getting ahead of myself. He kept playing well in the next game. Like, it was crazy, crazy, crazy to see. And then one other thing I want to take away from this game is Bruce Brown. And we actually got the news today that he won't be playing in the Raptors game tomorrow. He has a minor injury. Doesn't look to be that big of a deal. Okay. But he came out in this game, and he was the spark plug of all spark plugs. And I am the number one hater of the ESPN commentary crew. But so that I can get these clips quickly, I got to have it coming in through my cable because that's quicker than the stream, so I can make sure I don't miss any of the clips on Twitter. And I had them playing, and they loved Bruce Brown. And it was crazy to see any type of net get any recognition, but they were saying all the right things. They went out and they said, he plays bigger than he is. He acts like a center. He's pulling down rebounds. He's scoring in the paint. And that's exactly what he's done. But recently, he's added another element to his game, and that's the three-point shot, Keith. That's something that he didn't do in Detroit, hasn't really done this whole time since he's been with the Nets, shooting about 35% better on corner threes than he is on outside of the arc, on the top type threes, but he hasn't been taking many of those. He's extended his range, and now if you have Bruce Brown, a 6'5" center, shooting the three, like, I don't want to say it's over for the league because it's Bruce Brown, but like, imagine if he was 7 feet tall, because he sure plays like it. It's ridiculous. And when I see that, what I see is another element to this Nets team that other teams can't stop. And like, when it comes to your starters, obviously no one is stopping KD, Kyrie, James Harden. No one's stopping them. But if you can run out a bench unit with Landry Shamet, Bruce Brown, Jeff Green, Blake Griffin, and they can go out and drop major numbers like they've been doing in these past couple of games, like, the rest of the league just kind of let this happen, and it's embarrassing for them because there's no stopping them. There's no stopping the Nets. We played the Suns, a top 5 defensive team in the NBA, second best record, a fully healthy team except for Jay Crowder, but whatever, it's fine. And we smoked them, put up 128 points. It's ridiculous. No one can stop the Nets. And no one is going to stop the Nets going forward because we're only getting healthier, Keith.
And that's why I'm not worried. And that's why you won't hear me on a podcast or video or any other thing worry about the Nets again. And when I say they're letting this happen, I'm pretty sure I said the NBA is folding. They're letting this happen. The other GMs, they're not competing with Sean Marks. Anybody could have went and got Mike James, but they weren't thinking like that. And when you look at Mike James, he left the other side of the world, steps into the Nets world, and boom, you're in. Play. Number 55 on his back, ready to rock. And he's playing
Took
with
all
guys
of TLC's
like Blake
minutes.
Griffin. Good, like literally good. We'll talk about TLC in a minute. Who else were you talking about? Blake Griffin. I said Blake Gryffindor because he didn't play for the Wizards or the Magic, but he's a wizard out there and showing me some magic. He shot the 3. He's backing guys down. He draws charges. Like, I was not expecting him to. I don't know what I was on record saying we don't need Blake Griffin, because from what I saw from Blake Griffin, I was like, we don't need that on this team. I was wrong. And now what I'll say about Bruce Brown shooting the 3 is, what can Brown do for you? I think I was the first person to use that UPS line or pun, because I definitely said it before Iron Eagle, and I said it before anyone else. Like, we were on the Bruce Brown train early. We were on Bruce Brown as soon as we got Musa up out of here. We were like, anybody's better than Musa. Let's check him out. What can Brown do for you? He can play defense. He can play 5. He can rebound. He can get boards. He's going to hustle. He's going to get steals. He's going to even get blocks. And now he's confidently shooting the 3, which is scary. That's part of a scary hours. From this Celtics game, what I'll say is we swept the Celtics. You love to see it as a Nets fan.
We're sweeping the rivalries, Keith.
We're sweeping all the teams that we hate, and we're showing them that it's our world, Nets world. We are not little brother anymore. We're not beneath you anymore. We're here. We play very good against good teams. Celtics, I think they're going to fall off, but they're a good team. We started off slow again. And I was saying that the Nets have started off slow, and I've been paying more attention to the first quarter. You can't win or lose the game in the first quarter. Who also says that? I say that every time. You can't win or lose the game in the first quarter, but the Nets, for some reason, start out slow. I guess you can blame DJ. But I like DJ, bullying Tristan Thompson. He was getting blocked.
We got a lot of Kardashian talk on this podcast today.
We're going exactly there. Other than that, man, franchise record for players used in a season, in a single season, that number's 27. Mike James was the 27th different player. The Nets have 32 different starting lineups. They're not worried. They're basically telling you, we could get Air Bud in here. We could get the guy from Juwanna Man. We could get I'm blanking on what Bow Wow's name was in Like Mike. We could get anybody in here. You can get the Toon Squad, and we'll play with them, and we'll find a way to win. And beating the Celtics Friday night was the first part of what we needed to do. Last podcast, I said, hey, these are important games at home that we need to win. We can't fall too far behind in the standings, this, that, and the other. Shout out to Kyrie, Ramadan Rie.
We got to talk about Ramadan Rie when we talk about this Suns game, Keith.
Jeff Green and Landry
it.
Shamet dunking. That's the last thing I'll say from the Celtics game. I love that these guys are dunking the ball, and like that's another
confidence. It's confidence. They're playing with the energy that they should have, and it's something that I didn't really see as much in the beginning of the year, and it's really carrying us through these back-to-backs, through this slog at the end of the season. And it looks like the Nets are going to peak at the right time, but I'll let you get right into talking about this Suns game, because talking about peaking at the right time, Nets playing a really good team on a matinee game, and they fold a lot in those matinee games historically this season. So happy to see what we saw.
Fun day. You get the number 1 team in the East versus the number 1 team in the West at 3:30. You get a midday high-level matchup that could be a finals preview. And we're coming into that game with Ramadan Rie. Now, we got to speak on that. We support Kyrie here. And you should know that. If you're watching on YouTube, that's what the sign says in my room. Kyrie is playing basketball while fasting. And this guy is giving you hella buckets and assists and ridiculous moves, and nobody can check the guy with the empty stomach on the court. He has tapped into another level with this Ramadan Rie stuff. He's also, like I said, got the Kobe fro. You're seeing it now.
On purpose. He's working that on purpose.
He's looking like Kobe more and more. Watch his footwork. Watch his steps. Looks like a Kobe Bryant clone to me. And there was another Kobe Bryant clone out there in Devin Booker. And one thing I wanted to talk about with this game, and I already mentioned it being a potential finals matchup, I would actually love that. I was doing Pinstripe Strong, and in our after pod, someone said, Keith, who do you want to see in the finals? Like, I think there was some New York Icks energy in there. Like, if you don't want to see the Icks, who do you want to see? And I thought about it. I was like, maybe the Suns. And I'm going to read off just what I wrote in my notes quickly about the storylines between the Suns, and maybe Hudson can come up with some other ones. But if it's Suns versus Nets in the NBA Finals, you're going to get a Kobe off. You're going to watch Devin Booker and Kyrie Irving open up their Mamba mentality book and give you all the Mamba Academy moves that they learned. That would be sick to see. You already know from the top, Sean Marks, our GM, former Phoenix Sun. Then you go down, Steve Nash, MVP, couldn't get it done with the Suns. Mike D'Antoni, Coach of the Year.
Couldn't get it done with the
Suns. Also couldn't get it done with the Suns.
Lil
Tyler
TJ.
Johnson, Lil TJ, former Sun. Mike James, new addition to your Brooklyn Nets, also played for the Suns. Now, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, and CP3 were on the court at the same time Sunday. Some of you young boys remember what they did for the Clippers. They made the Clippers look good. Maybe they paved the way for the current Clippers we're seeing. Lob City and all that, they couldn't make it to the finals. It'd be interesting to see them make it to the finals and compete against each other. And speaking of D-Book and Blake Griffin, Hudson was on the tweets about the battle for Kendall Jenner. Man, I don't know. There's some gossip and some TMZ vibes going on. But, Kendall Jenner would be courtside or in the house somewhere for Blake versus Book. Was she in there last night?
She was in the building. It was really unfortunate. Both Yes and ESPN, neither of them actually cut to her, which made me really, really sad. But she was in the house. She was at the game. And look, I don't want to correlate that necessarily with what Blake Griffin was doing on the court because, they broke up in 2017. It was a while ago.
Yeah.
But look, Blake Griffin came out with a different type of energy. And look, it could have been for a variety of reasons. But my man came out with the fire. And the newest budding connection, it seems, between the Talkin Nets Twitter and, other people in the Twitterverse seems to be Talkin Nets and Barstool Big Cat and the Part of My Take podcast, because they absolutely adore using our Blake Griffin clips on all of their platforms. It's hilarious.
Love to see it.
Blake Griffin gets an and one dribble drive down the middle, and he's in the crowd with the DJ hyping him up, and he's yelling. He hits him with the you don't know who you are, I am quote from that guy, the bowler. And he was hyped up, and he was getting in people's heads all game. You could see him talking, and you saw him play a big game. A lot of people were highlighting the fact that CP3 hit him with that little crossover ankle breaker at the end of the game, which was fire. I'll be honest. It was a great move. But Blake Griffin put up more points than Chris Paul. Blake Griffin played a phenomenal game yesterday. And that was just one of many aspects of that Nets game that we need to talk about. And it really does feel like it was one of the most fun games of the season, maybe even since the last Suns game we played, the great comeback with the bearded one. We're watching this game, and we saw a lot of things that I feel like are bad news for the rest of the league. First off, Kevin Durant coming off of injury, coming off of whatever, is by far the best scorer that league has ever seen. Also the most efficient scorer the league has ever seen. He's coming up off the bench, and he's dropping 33 in 28 minutes. Again, always dropping more points than minutes by a significant margin. Efficient. And he's not missing. He's dicing people up, and it's just comical how good he is. At the same time, Kyrie Irving on an empty stomach is going out dropping 34 and 12 assists. Ridiculous. Imagine what he's going to do in the playoffs when he gets to eat food and drink water. I don't know if this, obviously I'm not going to, it's a spiritual thing, and I don't want to conflate anything, sensitively, but look, it feels like it might have some high altitude training type vibes, like a lot of people do before the Olympics. If he is going all this end of the season without eating, and then he finally gets to put food into his system and water into his system, what's he going to do in the playoffs, Keith? Because he's already dropping these crazy type numbers. And even though he's not getting the respect necessarily in the media, because he's Kyrie, he's never going to get the respect. He is forcing his way into the MVP conversation. And as being the superstar on the Brooklyn Nets that has been the most consistent player on the team, he deserves to be there, because if the Nets finish the regular season as the best team in the NBA, their leader has to be in the MVP conversation. And I don't know if you guys don't want to hear this or not, but the Nets leader this season has been Kyrie Irving.
Facts. And it has to be Kyrie because of the games he's played. Harden joined us game 13. He's already missed a bunch of games. We were running the I am the MVP shirts, and we were really on the James Harden MVP bandwagon, but you can't win MVP if you're not on the court. Same thing goes for KD. He won't be even kind of in that conversation. It's Kyrie, man, and he's going to kill. Okay, last things to wrap up the Suns game. The last, storyline, if we get to the finals, is CP3 and James Harden meeting in the finals 3 years after they almost made it to the finals together on the Rockets. That would be cool. So, yeah, Kyrie, Ramadan Rie, you already know, 34, 12, and 6. KD comes off the bench in the second quarter. I think in my post game I said second half. Obviously, it wasn't the second half. 8 minutes to go in the first half. 8 minutes in the second quarter, left in the second quarter. They bring KD off the bench, and Nash basically said, we were down 12, and the Nets world was not panicking against the number 2 team in the West. We were like, y'all know KD's going to step in this game, and that 12 points is going to disappear. And Nash knew that. Kudos to Steve Nash, his first year as head coach, dealing with 27 different players, dealing with 32 different starting lineups, dealing with the New York media and the New York narratives, dealing with all the nonsense that people come up with for why the Nets can't do it, why the Nets won't make it, and he just keeps figuring out who to put in there and how to win. What a hell of a hire by your Brooklyn Nets. I saw some people ask in the chat just now, where was Claxton? Claxton is still
health and
on
safety
COVID protocols. Somebody also asked on our Instagram, why didn't Bruce Brown play down the stretch late? And Hudson just told you he's going to miss this next game. Maybe he's got some sort of injury. I don't know exactly what it is, but maybe he felt that in the last game and he tapped himself out. But we also didn't need Bruce at the end. That game was over. That game was over because of how we played in the second quarter. And then with KD starting the third quarter, starting the second half, it's a wrap. They can't check him. What I'll say about this is we were without Alize Johnson, Claxton, Spencer Dinwiddie, James Harden, Chris Chioza, Reggie. You can go down the list. TLC. DNP. He didn't play. And I'm fine with that. My guy has struggled. My guy has struggled. It is what it is. You can't force it. If he ain't got it, he ain't got it. And we didn't start slow. Even with KD on the bench, we didn't start slow. We were up very quickly, and it kind of was like, man, the Nets don't play down to their competition. The Nets are 25-7 in their home games, so that's one thing. We're on our home floor. The Nets are also 24-8 against opponents with a winning record, and I don't have our record against the Western Conference, but we ain't lost many games to the Western Conference. So that leads me to believe that if we keep the number 1 seed and we secure home court advantage, who's coming to knock us off? The team does not exist in the NBA. Who is coming to knock us off? If we beat all the good teams, we beat all the teams in the West, and we keep doing that, not with the full big three, with a mix of either Kyrie, KD, just Kyrie, KD, no Harden, some of our role players not being there. The team does not exist that can beat the Brooklyn Nets in a 7-game series. They're not in this NBA. They're not in this league. LeBron would have to go get
dunking on people's
Nikola
heads.
Jokic next year, try and recruit Steph Curry, Dame, the rest of the Monstars to play with him and AD. It's not happening, It's not happening.
No one's beating the Nets if they have 34-year-old Jeff Green dunking on their heads and ending careers. Because that's all he does now. At this point, it would be remiss to not mention him in this game. Is Dunkle Jeff.
On a Sunday, I was calling him Father Jeff because he was blessing us with dunks that I just was out of my seat. Oh my, you know where he's going when he gets that look. And it's like a stern-faced look and then just a mad one. Taking it out on the
Pastor Jeff because he's baptizing people every time. It's ridiculous.
All right. That's all I got for the Suns game. Game 61-72. They don't want to talk about the Nets defense, but we will. The Nets played very well against DeAndre Ayton. Actually, that reminds me, I have a voicemail that I want to play. Here we go. Boo. I hate when the Bluetooth isn't on, and I think it's on, and then it doesn't play.
These last two games, we've really improved on defense. And the stats may not show it, but DeAndre Ayton struggled against us. He and Blake Griffin were going at it all night. Blake obviously won the battle, got him in foul trouble. And yeah, if we could play like this tonight against top 2 West teams, over for the rest of the week. KD hasn't lost his step. Kyrie doing Kyrie things. Kyrie actually played extremely good defense in the last couple games. TLC DNP was bound to happen. And Bruce Brown, man, if you give Bruce Brown the right amount of minutes every single game, along with Harden, KD, and Kyrie, he is a huge X factor for this team. He's so underrated. As I said before, Blake Griffin's kind of playing bully ball, playing very gritty. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Let me play this from the beginning so I can get his name.
What's up, guys? It's Jeffrey again.
Jeffrey. Man, Jeffrey was spitting. He listens to Talkin Nets. That boy was spitting. What else? We got 2 more voicemails, and then we're wrapping this thing up because Davey Garcia is about to pitch for the Yankees. But the Yankees are on the road, so we bat first, and I'll be off by the time Davey pitches. Here we go.
What's up? Yeah, this is Trey Always from Oklahoma. And man, I just want to let you guys know that you guys got one of the best people in this podcast right now. And I'll keep that up, man. I like listening to guys like you guys that actually know how to talk about basketball. You know, we'll get too deep into stats and make it, overcomplicated. But yeah, man, that was a great win yesterday, Sunday. I love it. I just don't know what these other teams gonna do with it. Come playoff time. Let's go Nets.
One more voicemail, and I don't know what I was just saying because Davey Garcia is pitching right now. I'm guessing the Yankees had 3 quick outs. Missed that. Here we go.
Hey, man, I got a question about TLC and his playing minutes. Like, when you guys are seeing, if TLC does all that shooting and shit he does, don't you guys feel like he has to play Alizé Johnson just a little more than TLC does? Because Alizé does the little shit that TLC doesn't. I feel like TLC wants to be like a KD and a Harden. It's like we don't need another one of those. We just need somebody like Alizé who plays that hard-nosed basketball, takes charge of skills, and just does the little things that we need. Instead of TLC out there fucking thinking he's fucking Kobe and shit. And yeah, man, I just had to get that out my chest. That was a good thing.
I love how angry, like viscerally angry TLC makes Nets fans. It's so funny. But like he's right. And that conversation's already been had within the organization. Right now, like obviously we have Alizé dealing with health and safety stuff, so that's unfortunate. But TLC's picking up DNPs. And if we can have people like Mike James coming in off the street, putting up better numbers than him, then there's really no point to give him minutes. And like, look, we rooted for our guy. We used to be TLC stands way back when. But at the end of the day, it is what it is.
Anymore.
It's not going to cut it. It's not going to work. And I don't want to come out here and give him too much slander because, he's trying his best. But look, he's got the Musa mentality. He's going out there. He's taking every 3 he can, and he's bricking all of them. Definitely. So let's trade him for another Bruce Brown, maybe.
We're not going to get that in the playoffs. What we might get in the playoffs is Spencer Dinwiddie coming off the bench and taking TLC's minutes. And I'm just going to keep saying that. I'm just going to keep planting that seed that Spencer will be ready. Let's say early
They're
June.
talking about it. Nash is talking about it.
And
like people in the organization wouldn't be talking about it.
As we're getting closer to this play-in tournament, there is going to be, and you know how people love to say, oh, well, the Nets don't have the chemistry. Well, it looks like these guys are having a blast together, having a good time. I think they've got a ton of chemistry. I think they're friends. They root for each other. They're all there for the same reason. And then also in May, we are going to the game on May 15th. And then there's a last game on the 16th, I think, against the Cavs. We'll be at the Bulls game. And then there will be a full week off for the Brooklyn Nets because they're not playing in a play-in tournament. So the Nets will have off May 17th through 21st, and then the first round will start. So they're going to have a full week to practice with each other every day. I'm not worried anymore. There's nothing to worry about. Harden will be fine for that week. Let's say Harden doesn't play the rest of the season because people are saying that. If Harden doesn't play the rest of the season, it's fine because he'll have that week to practice with this team. And as you saw with KD stepping back on the floor, the high IQ of these guys, KD is only taking shots he practiced. KD is making DeAndre Jordan look better. Him and Kyrie are just taking turns on who's going to score, who's going to make the next highlight. We're not worried out here. But what we are worried about is you leaving voicemails and writing reviews and supporting this pod. This might be somebody's first time listening to Talkin Nets, thanks to Nets Magazine. Maybe we're getting an influx of new listeners. Awesome. Leave us a review if you like what we do. They help. The last review was from April 16th. I'm feeling some kind of way. That was 10 days ago. Somebody has an iPhone and listens to this pod. And what I will say is that there was an issue on Apple Podcasts. Something is going on with Apple Podcasts. They're changing the platform. Our last 2 episodes had less downloads, and I couldn't access them myself. So Apple, what's going on? Like, fix that. And if you're listening, please write us a review. Say anything. Hopefully it's 5 stars and it's something nice. You can call in and be heard the same way you just heard these voicemails. The number is 201-870-0461. Make sure you follow us across social media at Talkin Nets, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Subscribe to the YouTube. It's growing. You can follow me at Keith McPherson. Hudson Flynn, where can they follow you?
If you're live, you see it right there at Hudson Flynn _. But follow the YouTube. Come on the YouTube. You can ask us questions live. You can, talk to us. You can interact with us. We love the chat interaction. We've had some people in the chat asking us questions the past 2 episodes. So let's keep that going. It's a fun momentum. It makes the podcast easier. Makes it more fun. And look, we're talking Nets. We're the Nets podcast of the fans. We're for the people, by the people. So, of course, we need the interaction with the people during the podcast. So come out and support.
He said it. Talking Nets. We're just Nets fans. Literally, just like you. We're not Hollywood. I mean, it's dope that they did a feature on us, but we're regular.
We're a little Hollywood, though. But like a little bit Hollywood, though.
Yeah. But you got to be humble. I am humbled and honored. But, yeah, that's it. That's all we got. And like I said, we will be going to the game on May 15th. I think I have 1 extra ticket, and I'm going to try and do some type of giveaway. So if you listen to the podcast all the way to the end, you just heard that might be your ticket. That 1 ticket might be up for grabs for free to come kick it with myself, Hudson, and like 15 other Nets fans before the regular season ends. And you already know what we going to do when we step in the Barclays Center. We're going to watch the Nets win, hopefully with the big 3 all together. A little tune-up game against Vucevic and Levine and Markkanen and those boys. And after we whoop their ass, we say, let's go Nets. Brooklyn.
All right.
That's the show.
That's the show. Oh, but since the show's over, I didn't want to interrupt your closing flow. Kenman, no, I'm not worried about James's health. He's going to be just fine. He's James Harden. He's never hurt. He's okay. This is just precaution. He's going to come back and average a triple-double in the playoffs.
Yeah, let me look in the chat now. We're done with the recording audio part. Let's see. Yeah. So I'm not worried about it's like, so the thing about Harden is that like Harden is basketball and they know what kind of player Harden is. We saw him working out. We saw him shooting. He was coming back and they said that he aggravated the hamstring or he re-injured it or whatever. And whether that is fully true or not, I think they're playing chess, not checkers here. The Nets roster is fully equipped to beat the number 2 team in the West. Like, there's nobody else on, like, we're going to play the Nuggets. We're going to play the Bucks. There's nobody else on the schedule the rest of the way out that we need to be afraid of, or like what it was for me when they didn't roll out with KD against the Sixers and they laughed at the Sixers in that game. I'm like, they don't give a fuck. They don't care. Like they don't care about these regular season games, yo. They don't even care about the seed. They just want to get into the dance, and then they know once you step into the dance, you can't dance with us.
No, absolutely not. There really is no one. I mean, like, look, at the end of the day, the Nets are very injured and they're beating these teams just with ease. So at the end of the day, the only thing that can stop the Nets is themselves. And I don't see that happening. They're not built to stop themselves. And the only tragic part that I see out of all the things that happen with the Nets is that people are not talking about Steve Nash in the Coach of the Year, conversation, because they really should be at this point with all the stuff he's had to deal with. It's just a shame that, do you see the stars'
Nick Nurse
names?
win it
Like,
in his first year with the Raptors?
I think he did. Yeah.
Yeah,
He
he
had
should
Kawhi,
definitely be in that conversation. He should definitely be in that conversation then. What else about the Nets? Yeah, I literally was looking at the schedule today, and then I wanted to know, like, because the way this play-in is set up, it's interesting, right? Like, you can lose in the play-in, but if you're the higher seed and you lose to the lower seed, you're not eliminated. Like if
you got like a second chance.
If the higher seed beats the lower seed the first time they play, they're done. And it's like, all right, then I'm looking at who we might face. And right now the playoff picture says we would win. We'd play against, so Indiana and DC would play, and they would go to the game against the winner or the loser of the Charlotte-Miami matchup. And then the winner of that. So like we would draw the loser, like the loser of one of the play-in games. And then the winner, the winner of the lower play-in games, which are like the 9 and 10 seed, whoever wins those games is who we would draw in the 8 seed. And it's like, it's going to be like the Pacers or the Wizards, or I don't know. I think the Heat beat Charlotte. So maybe Charlotte right now. I'm not worried about that. And I don't think the Nets are worried about that. And as far as Harden, like I said, I think it's chess, not checkers. I think the Nets are just not showing their hand. Why, if we've only seen 6 games with the big three, why put them on the floor together in the last 3 weeks of the season, 4 weeks of the season, and show people anything? Why not just wait and roll it out in the playoffs? And then you have no time to prepare. Then you have no time to figure anything out. Then you have no time to game plan.
No, the Nets are just built to win games. They're built different. I'd like them to roll into the playoffs as the number 1 overall team with the best record. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. That's just for aesthetic's sake. But, like, it's really just a matter of time at this point. Like, especially with the end of this regular season, it's like a waiting thing, at least is the way I'm seeing it. Like, we're just kind of getting through, hoping there's no serious injuries. And then we can go in the playoffs and wreck shop, and then we're going to win. So, look, I'm excited to see more basketball, but, like, it's not going to be close. Like, the Nets are just going to keep winning. The only thing that's stopping them is themselves, and they're not going to do that. So it's just kind of a matter of, when, not if.
When you have Jeff Green on a veteran minimum with highlight dunks every game, good buckets, good men. When you have Landry Shamet realizing that, like, they know he's a shooter and he can get an easy dunk and he's taking advantage of it. Like, when you have Bruce Brown giving you everything. I saw something today that, like, he's the Energizer Bunny of the team. I think one of the girls that does, like, she's a senior graphic designer for the Brooklyn Nets, like, did a special, like, tunnel for them to, like, get hyped up and then come out of the tunnel. And they said they went to Bruce Brown because he's known as the Energizer Bunny of the team. He's the hype guy. He's the energy guy. When you have a guy like that you got for Musa in a 2nd-round pick, like, come on, yo. Joe Harris. When Joe Harris is getting open looks, which is going to happen in the playoffs, it's going to be divine. When everybody is focused on the big three and they leave Joe Harris open and he's just knocking down threes, it's going to be great. And then DeAndre Jordan, we rag on DeAndre Jordan a lot. We give him a lot of slack because he does suck most of the time. But he was dropping some dimes and picking them up and doing his thing. And like I said, he looks better with KD and Kyrie on the floor.
He's been essentially fine. Like, I haven't really had anything to complain because he's not actually playing important. He's not playing important minutes.
Claxton, so it's like, will be there as well. And I don't mind. I was talking to my boy Joe's McFly. He's not a big basketball fan, but he's a big LeBron fan. And I was basically given the speech of, like, what team as currently constructed in the NBA is going to stop this team. And he's like, LeBron, what you're not thinking about is LeBron is coming back fully rested. I'm like, okay, 36-year-old Bron is getting fully rested while he's nursing his ankle. But, like, I don't fear Bron. And I know every year LeBron makes it to the final. So there's a good chance that the number 5 Lakers figure out how to get to the finals with LeBron, but they're not checking us, bro. When we get Harden, KD, even without Harden, I said in the post game yesterday, I was like, any way you want it, you can get it. The Nets will give you 32 different lineups. You'll see 27 different players, and they'll still find a way to win. So I'm done worrying. And shout out to everybody that watched us do this live. We're going to probably do all the pods live like this. And then even when the playoffs come, get right here to, talk about the games live, whether it's pregame or postgame. We're going to a game. We're probably going to call a game at Tailgate Brooklyn at some point. And it's fun. Get ready. It's supposed to be 80-something this week, I think.
We're probably going to vlog the game as well.
Yeah, and the weather's about to get warm, and we're about to have high-level basketball, the most exciting basketball, which is arguably the most exciting time in sports as far as for months. It's the NFL playoffs is 2 months. Not even. It's really just January into February. The MLB postseason is a month. It's just October. The NBA postseason, we're about to get NBA basketball in late May or playoff basketball in late May, all of June into July. And it's going to be a good time, especially as people are getting vaccinated and doing more things. And then we can meet people and we can have events and do things in person. And, honestly, Talkin Nets would have died. Honestly, Talkin Nets would not be a thing. It would not be a brand if we didn't have the 13 people that are watching right now, the hundreds of people that are going to listen to the podcast, the thousands of people that follow us on Twitter. That's what put us here. It is just the two people you see on the screen, and then Twitchy helps us out some too. But for the most part, it is Hudson and Keith and Hudson making everything you see from Talkin Nets. And we're blessed and honored to be the two people that get to create this Nets World content for you guys. And this is it. This is why when we started Talkin Nets in October, if you guys watched the special, I said, the first thing I ever did for John Boy Media was Talkin Nets. When I came into John Boy Media, Jimmy's like, yo, I can't pay you, but we've got this Talkin Nets brand that we need to get off the ground. And I think I saw you tweet something. I literally just tweeted at Jake. Jake was tweeting out Talkin Knicks stuff. And I said, but we're Nets fans. And he says, we got something for the Nets fans too. DM me, sidebar with me. And then after that, I took Talkin Nets. Hudson was on before me. Hudson made the logo. Hudson was in the chat before me. Hudson was already, setting up the Instagram, Twitter and stuff. And here we are, fast forward to now. And the reason that we worked so hard and the reason that we started it was because we knew we were going to play for a championship in 2021. The year that KD was going to play a full season was going to be a championship year, whether it was just KD and Kyrie. We didn't know we'd get Harden, but as soon as there was whispers of us getting Harden, we got Harden, and we just kept pushing through and working through the pandemic, through everything, through COVID, through the Black Lives Matter movement, the NBA stopping. We just kept making episodes and graphics and videos and memes and posts, and now we're getting the respect that I think we deserve. It's all due to work. And last thing I'll say in closing is that you guys could do this too. Hudson is 19. I'm 32. If you guys look up my story, I've been working like this my entire life. Nothing was given to me. I don't come from much. Hudson is in college taking 25 credits, but still finds the time to host this show and live tweet the games and create content. So it's all about work. If you guys have a passion, if you guys have something that you're dreaming of doing, start it. You don't know where it can go. And on that journey, you don't know who will see you. You don't know who's watching that will say, hey, we want to support you and help you do what you do. We want to see you go further. And that's what we are.
Media Squared. I mean, look, they just reached out to us. They just sent us a DM.
A Twitter DM.
Thanks, Connor. No, it's a fucking mess. College sucks. I got finals coming up. I got so much fucking work. Oh, you're at Penn State? Damn, fucking Penn State. I'm a Maryland fan, so I can say honestly, I do not rock with Penn State. But with you, Kevin, I don't know. I mean, we're not gonna bring in a third host, but over the summer in the off season,
all the voicemail. We have a rotating cast of people that.
Well, I'm gonna say too is we bring in a lot of guests. We've pretty much got some pretty good connects when it comes to getting guests. So for the summer too, that's going to be huge when we don't have players playing, when we don't have announcers announcing. You're not Maryland's dad. Stephon Diggs has owned you his entire career. They haven't won a basketball game against Maryland in 5 years. Absolutely the fuck not. Absolutely not. You guys, first off, I do appreciate you for staying here, but shut the fuck up. Thank you.
Aaron Hicks. No. All right. That's all we
Alright,
got.
Keith,
I think
I
that's
sent you
about
the
it. Out
audio.
the street. Yeah. Thanks for watching, and download the pod and follow us on Twitter and all that, and you'll see this stuff the next couple of days. We got last I'll say is we got 2 more games coming up, and then we'll do the pod again. We got this Raptors game coming up, and then I think we go back to I guess we go back to the Raptors tomorrow. That's stupid. We were just there over the last weekend, and then we play Karis and the Pacers. So let's win those 2 games, and we'll come right back and do a live show and talk about it. Talkin Nets, we out of here.